So hello and welcome back to Dead Rising 3 on the PC. Now in the background there will be footage of the game, of me testing it, going from the highest settings all the way down to the lowest settings. The game has a very high, medium and low settings, so I just went through those four settings, seeing how well it ran. Now the PC version is definitely a lot better than the third one. Now you can't actually get Dead Rising 4 on Steam, you have to buy it on the Windows Store, which is, you know, inconvenient. I didn't have any issues with it. It was pretty easy. It downloaded fine. It's a bit annoying because it defaults to your launch hard drive, and I didn't have enough space on it. I wanted it to go to a different hard drive, so I had to stop it. And once you cancelled it, then it would let you choose what hard drive you wanted it to go to, which is a bit annoying. I don't know if there's a way of actually getting it to have a shortcut on the desktop. I don't know if that's possible. If you do know if you can do that, please tell me, and tell me how to do it, please, because I don't want to have to open Windows Store every time I want to play it. It'd be nice to just click it off the desktop. The PC version of Dead Rising 3 was a joke. It ran horribly, awfully, ran at around 30 FPS for a lot of people. It just was a disaster. It crashed a lot, and it did not run very well. Dead Rising 4, better. Much better? Maybe. It crashed for me before I... Actually, it crashed for me on video, actually, before I managed to even get into the game while it was loading. But the game, no matter what settings you have it on, will always drop below 60 on my configuration. The game has no full screen option, which is really weird, and the only way I could get the frame rate counter to show up was by turning VSync on, which magically turned the frame rate counter on, which is a bit strange. Normally games don't have a borderless option if they're not going to have one of the three, you know, windowed, borderless or full screen, but it has no full screen option, which is very, very weird. And I believe with the VSync option on, it locks your refresh rate to half of what your monitor refresh rate is. So for me, I've got a 144 Hz monitor. It seems to lock it to 72, which is the highest it will ever go to. Now, I would say the game actually, at least on the higher settings, looks quite nice. I noticed what I was wearing seemed to have a nice sheen to it. It looks fine. It's very passable, I would say, graphically. There's a lot of blood on everything when you get into a mess of zombies, and there's also a shit ton of options in the options menu to configure your settings, which is good. Normally that's a good sign in a PC port, but for me, with a 970, even on the very lowest settings with pop-in and horrible flickering going on in the background and the shadows, no matter what I did, I could not get a constant 60. It seems to fluctuate anywhere from, at least on the lowest settings for me, 48 to 72. Now on the highest settings it drops to like 35, 36 at the lowest, and it will flicker up to the higher 60s. Now I mentioned Dead Rising 3 earlier, where the launch was a disaster, but now, for me, I don't know if they've updated it, they probably have. It's been, how long has it been? A year? It's been 2 years, Jesus Christ, since Dead Rising 4 came out on PC. It runs flawlessly at 60 FPS, never dropping once on the highest settings. I have a video, I'll link it to you in the description, of me playing a decent chunk of Dead Rising 3 and talking about it, and some gameplay in the background running at max settings at 60 FPS. I don't know if this game is more demanding or if it's just a bad port. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure about the technicalities of what effects they've added or what technology they're using, but all I know is that no matter what settings I have it on, I cannot get it to never drop below 60, which is like the ideal thing you want to have on. And I would rather have it on the higher settings, high, very high, and get a constant frame rate, than have it on the lowest settings or medium settings and have it go from 48 all the way up to the high 60s, which is very jarring on the eyes. It's really not nice. Now another thing I want to mention, that in Dead Rising 3 the camera was really close to the back of the character, and it actually gave me a bit of motion sickness. It gave me a bit of a headache. Something about the FOV, something about the camera being really close to the back of the character. They seem to have made the camera a bit further away from the back of the character, and I'm suffering no headaches, no motion sickness, which is a big plus for me and anyone who suffers from FOV sickness, I guess you could call it. So that's all I really wanted to talk about it technically. I did do another video on it, a first impressions video, about an hour long almost, and if you don't want to watch that to see what my initial impressions are, I would say it's not Dead Rising. It's not Dead Rising 1. If you're going into it expecting, oh, they brought Frank West back, it's going to be like Dead Rising 1. It's not. There's no timers. They've changed how the health bar looks. There's no longer those cool square, yellow square boxes. There's a stamina meter. There's checkpoints now, so you don't have to save at a restroom. You know, all these things that made Dead Rising are gone. To me, it's kind of like if they did Dead Rising 3 right, because Dead Rising 3 was so unbelievably boring, because you got power creep, you became so powerful so quickly, and this seems to be an issue in Dead Rising 3 as well. I'm not sure how much of an issue it's going to be in the future. I'm not sure how good the story is going to be, because I think hardcore players of Dead Rising 1 knew that the story and characters were so vital to the game. It was just a lot of wacky, zany characters, a lot of mystery and intrigue in the story, trying to uncover what the hell is exactly going on. I don't know if they have that in Dead Rising 4. They didn't seem to have that in any of Dead Rising 3, which was a real shame, which was one of the many reasons I stopped playing the game around 7 hours in. There was just nothing really to keep me going. Also, like I said, it gave me a headache. I'm not going to play a game that gives me a headache and makes me feel a bit bleh. Also, I forgot to mention, it's just coming to top of my head while I've been looking through the footage of the game, you don't seem to have to rescue survivors anymore, which is good, bad, kind of in the middle of like, yeah, I don't really mind this change, because if you played Dead Rising 1, holy fuck, the survivors were so dumb. I don't think I saved one survivor in Dead Rising 1. They made the AI a lot better in 2, but it was still annoying. It was mental having like a conga line of survivors going through the zombie horde, and they're all just getting eaten one by one, and you cannot save them because there are too many zombies in the bloody way. Anyway, they seem to have made it so you just save them. You save them from a group of zombies, and then they're safe. At least that's what happened with me saving the one survivor in the opening area of Dead Rising 4. She just seemed to literally vanish into thin air, and then she gave me some fists. You may have seen me using those in the game, some like golden jewelry fists that create like sound waves. So a quick summary as the footage comes to a close. On a setup like mine, which is a 970, an i7 and 16GB of DDR3 RAM, you will not be getting a constant 60, so it's better to have it on high, very high, so you're not getting the crazy going from, you know, low 40s to high 60s and getting the judder from it. As of now, there have been no drivers for the game released, and if they release drivers as soon as I finish making this video, I will be very angry because I'll have to make it again. But if they do that and they make it so it runs at constant 60 FPS, I will be very happy. But anyway, that's that for now. I'll see you later.